So here's what I'm starting to think. There's been this massive wave, right, of shame, guilt. Can't get this word. I feel like I want it. Which I know is not the soul. It's ego. It is mind created. Guilt and shame are a mechanism of the mind to manipulate behavior, not into doing what we actually want, to doing what feels safe, to doing what feels acceptable to others in order to get them to accept us, to like us, essentially. And it's covering something up. Because the reality is, I know the experience of regret is different from the experience of guilt, the experience of shame. And a lot of the guilt and the shame that I've been feeling even is guilt for wanting what I want, for doing what I want. That means, it just means I'm not owning what I want. It's there. It's right there. But ego is calling it unacceptable, disallowed, inappropriate. When the reality is, and this is the reality, spirit, soul sees no such thing. Everything that is allowed. There is no right and there is no wrong. This is stated and restated. It's the law of one. It's in countless, it's in every spiritual tradition, this understanding. The unity of all, the oneness of all, the sameness of all. And the truth that good and evil, right and wrong, do not exist. That is an illusion. All judgment is a distortion. It is a misperception generated by the mind, generated by the mind and backed up by a mind-made identity, a false self, feeding such a thing. And I know the more that I have challenged this, the more it's tried to hook me. It's doubled down in its efforts to get me to feel bad, to manipulate me, to keep me out of my power and my desire. That is happening. And it can feel like a war. And I know that it's not, because that's a part of what it wants to. It wants to be perceived as an enemy, because then I am in opposition to it, and then I'm feeding it. I'm actually lined up with it at that point. It wants to be perceived as an enemy. It's not. It's a friend. It is myself as much as any self. The false self is created by myself as an illusion for fun, for amusement, and for learning, for growth, to challenge me, to recognize what the truth is, what is the true perspective without distortion. And that true, clear perspective never includes any guilt or shame. So if there is ever a moment that is present in my experience, that means I have identified with a false self, an egoic identity. That is what that means. And I'm wondering, I'm not sure if I can articulate this, but I'm wondering if so there's the desire to clear perception, and clearing perception means releasing this misperception of guilt and shame, which means recognizing the judgments that are creating it. And recognizing them to be just that, to be judgments, to be false, to be not of the soul, but of the mind. And the things that we have rejected most deeply in ourselves tend to be the things that we reject most vehemently in others. So I notice that the things that I have rejected in others come back around inside of me. I have an opportunity to experience what I have said no to in the witness of other people, which is really saying no to myself. And now I have to face the reality that I have cast judgment on others for this very same thing, which was always present in myself, was always being displayed by myself. There is no other but the self. But how much more potent and poignant it is to recognize, and how much more humbling to ego, to recognize, this is something I have judged in another and now am experiencing, perhaps, in myself. It has happened. Whatever the behavior is. And so it seems like a deliberately constructed opportunity to recognize I don't know how to put this, and I'm so tired. To recognize that I've judged others for this very same thing that I am experiencing in myself. And now have the opportunity for total forgiveness, for the absolution of sin. Sin meaning, as it always and only ever has meant, a misunderstanding, a misperception. The only sin is the perception of flaw. That's what that means. It means you're not seeing it clearly. So when I perceived a flaw in others, for any behavior, any behavior, when I had a reaction against that, I'm not saying it was wrong. It was all part of this experience. But it comes back around within you. You get the chance to directly demonstrate that behavior and realize, I was capable of this all along. This was within me. That's why I reacted against it in witnessing it outside of myself. Because this has all been an opportunity for me to more deeply accept the self. Any part of the self that is rejected by ego. It's afraid. It's afraid to love that part. God, I love this woman. I just got a text message. I do want to finish what I'm saying. Because I've noticed, and I know other people have noticed and asked me about this, and I have no answers. I don't know anything. But I've noticed, as other people have, that a lot of people on this spiritual journey end up kind of recoiling from it. Something backfires, it feels like. They get to this super accepted kind of place, and then suddenly they become very devoutly religious. Suddenly they take it all back, and they're repenting, and I'm not tying this to any specific religion. I'm just saying suddenly they appear to go backwards, and it looks like it's driven by fear. Suddenly they're preaching fear again. And I wonder if this is not a part, intentionally, of the journey, written in, designed, part of this lesson, part of this progression. I mean, if we are releasing guilt and fear, guilt, which is a form of fear, but is a really potent primary control mechanism, if we're releasing these things, of course, they're going to get bigger and bigger, and we're going to face specific opportunities to experience them. And that's a choice point. That's a fork in the road. Do you bend to this really heavy, really intense, now very personal experience of guilt? And if you do, what does that look like? That looks like repenting. That looks like suddenly I accept this crushing weight that I am just a piece of shit, and I'm totally wrong in all my ways and everything I've been saying, and let me take it all back and try to prove myself. Let me try to make it up, and repent, become worthy again. You go full force the other direction, because the weight of that guilt becomes so crushing. But I think it's there to be realized as an illusion. That's the other choice. That's the other road here. To really cast off the burden of guilt, you got to feel it fully. And then that's your chance to put it down, to recognize that it's false, to recognize that it's an illusion, that there is no weight here. This is all made up. It's all imagined by the mind. Spirit isn't feeling this. Spirit isn't casting that guilt upon you, isn't shaming you, isn't asking you to feel bad. In fact, Spirit is encouraging you to put down bad feeling. To recognize that feeling bad benefits nobody, serves nobody, and nothing, ever, ever. The mind will try to contradict that, because it wants you to follow it. It wants you to stay stuck, trapped, manipulated. It too is serving Source, exactly in that way, as posing as the enemy. It's not an enemy, it's a friend. Again, that's what the word Satan means in Hebrew, the adversary. What is an adversary? It's not an enemy. It's your opponent, sure. It's that which is standing in opposition to you, but that doesn't make it the bad guy. That doesn't mean even it's trying to hurt you. It's standing as your challenger to present you the opportunity to test yourself, to face resistance, to stand in your power, to demonstrate your power. That's a very specific and special word. It's that which has chosen, which has volunteered, which is of and is yourself, volunteering to play the role of not self, of other, to play the role of the bad guy. What a generous thing. What a wonderful gift that is. And it's there to help us release this imagined burden. I've said before, and I believe again, shame, guilt, feeling that there is any flaw, the perception of flaw, the perception of badness, of wrongness in the natural existence of the human self, of all self, but I mean, I'm talking about being a human being here. That is the original sin. Being tricked into thinking that something is wrong. Being tricked into thinking that anything could be wrong. Being tricked into thinking that good and evil exist. That there is such a thing as the knowledge of good and evil. There's no such thing. That's made up. That's made up. The eating of the fruit of that tree was simply the accepting of that distortion into our perception. That's what that meant. There is no good and evil, but allowing ourselves to believe that that was true, and then perceiving wrong and feeling shame. All of that, that's the original misperception, the original sin, the original missing of the point, of the bigger picture of everything that's going on here, of the truth of what is, the divinity and the perfection of your being in everything all of the time. All of the time. That there is no wrong. You cannot do wrong. There is no harm. You cannot create harm. You cannot cause harm. Not to any other and not to yourself. It's not possible. Everything always is of the Creator and in service of the Creator. The one self that we are. That's us. We are the Creator. We are the creation, the extension, and the Creator. And I mean, this continues to be demonstrated. It's baked into everything, into existence and the experience of it. But again, I am just wondering, and I don't know that I can clarify or articulate this any more clearly at this moment, but it seems certainly designed, orchestrated, intentional, that a part of this journey of realizing the truth of self, and specifically of releasing shame, of clearing the perception of what is so that it contains no judgment, and that means no perception of right and wrong, seeing the higher form of those things, that everything is right, everything is good, including that which had been judged as bad or wrong. All of it is good. All of it is right. That we face more and more intense examinations of this. More opportunities where this perception is revealed to us. And it's revealed by the experience of intense guilt and shame. That's revealing to me that, oh, I have a judgment here. There is something in my mind that is dug into this mental position, which is opposing myself, which is opposing the truth, opposing my desire, opposing my natural being. I have a judgment in opposition to myself, and that is creating a tremendous amount of internal resistance. And the experience of shame, which is of ego. It is of ego. No, it's not there to guide us. No, that's a trick. That's a trap. That's how this whole patriarchal tyranny has been allowed to continue. That is, what better way to control people than to get them to feel like shit about themselves. What better way? In a society that benefits in every way, not true benefit, but in terms of control, benefits by your self-loathing, self-love, radical self-love, absolute self-love means acceptance of the self exactly as it is an act of rebellion. Absolutely. It's time to recognize that it's all a play. It is all a farce. There are no good guys and bad guys. You can't be either. You're not on the side of good, because there's no side of bad. It's all the same side. We are all on the same side. Joy, desire, expansion, creation, benefit, good, yeah, good stuff, all of it, all of us, always working for good, no matter what it is we're doing. It's all for good. It doesn't matter if you think it is or not. It doesn't matter if you think you're intentionally working against good. You're still working for good. There's nothing else to work for. There is no bad. There is no wrong. So whatever you're doing, it's good and it's right. And accepting that and feeling the deep resonance of that, that's my goal. That's the goal that I feel. Looking around and seeing love in all, that this moment is full of love. Just that, exactly that. And that all of this, all of the stuff swirling around trying to get me to think, trying to get me to feel bad, trying to get me to figure some way out of feeling bad, well, the way out is just to put it down. That's the way out. It doesn't take an action. It doesn't require an action. If I want to stop feeling bad, I can stop. I can just put that down. Or I can choose to feel bad on purpose and acknowledge that there's a part of myself that wants to feel that, actually. Because there certainly is a part of me that wants to feel like the bad guy. That wants to feel like a bad guy. Like a villain, like a criminal, like a cheater. Like I'm scamming somehow the system. It wants to feel skeevy and thievy. That's a big reason that I love Hermes and why Hermes is my patron and has been from the beginning. Patron saint of many things. Art, music, poetry, animal husbandry, merchants, travelers, but also thieves. Patron saint of thieves, con men, drunkards, all of that. He doesn't turn anybody away. He himself is a master thief. Recognizing there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just a choice. You get to choose that. You get to experience that. All of that is permitted. None of it is wrong. And I think I'm meant to feel the weight of the judgment against that type of thinking. And I'm recognizing again, my own mind calling things dangerous about myself. And I know now, if I am called dangerous, especially inside, if I am called dangerous, if something inside me is saying that's dangerous, I'm on to something. I am on to something. Oh, there's juice there, right? There's something big and tasty right there for me to sink my teeth into, that is trying to be covered up, trying to be shoo me away from this. Oh, no, that's dangerous. Don't go there. The more my mind wants me not to go there, the more that I know, oh, I want to go there. I want to go there. And if it wants me not to go there, it's going to throw everything it has at me. Every version of fear. Fear is the only tool that it has. It's the only weapon that it has. So every flavor of fear that it can hurtle at me, especially shame and guilt, threats, forms of threat, it's going to use that. It's going to try to use that against me. It's going to try to use that to get me to turn back, to stop walking towards desire, walking this path that I'm walking, to stop taking control of my pleasure, ownership of my pleasure and what pleases me, and accepting it all. Oh, I can feel it. I can feel it right there. Saying that, accepting it all, it was like, that's dangerous. To accept everything, to accept yourself totally, immediately tried to wash some guilt through. Immediately. Wow. Total acceptance of the self. This is spirit we're talking about. Spirit, source, self, divine, wants some things and likes some things that might surprise you. Yep. Because nothing in this reality would exist if source didn't want it to. Want it to. So everything that is here because it's wanted. Everything. That's all inclusive. Yeah, we get to experience contrast and the evolution of personal preference, but that doesn't mean things are unwanted, actually. We like it all. Some stuff we like more than other stuff, but we like all of the stuff. All of the stuff that is what we are likes it. All of it. So that means me accepting too that whatever I'm perceiving as unwanted, whatever I'm feeling is not liked about this situation, there's something there that I like that I'm just not willing to admit to. I know it's there. Maybe having to do with an experience of power or struggle or feeling bound. That's a big one. That's a real big one for me, I think. I really like the experience of feeling stuck. I really like the experience of bondage, essentially. That's what it is. Because the self is kinky. The soul is fucking freaky, yo. Seriously. It is into all kinds of shit. And I mean into it. I really definitely like the experience of feeling trapped and stuck and maybe humiliated too, or shamed in some way, feeling unacceptable. Really liking the experience of feeling rejected. Self-deprecation, feeling a lack of worth. Those are things I really like, definitely. I just keep coming back to the bondage one because it is this feeling of like no way out. Stuck. which pushes us into surrender. I mean, and that's ultimately what this is guiding me towards too, is surrender. Surrender to all of this. Surrender to the experience, to the situation. Which I don't feel like going into detail about. Again, it just has to do with, there's this condo, I'm trying to move, I have partially moved, I want to be just out, but there's other complications with selling the place, renting the place, having a cat that's aggressive, whatever, this and that. And there's no right way to go about this, and there's no wrong way. So whatever happens, it's not wrong, and I can't get it wrong. And I'm not wrong in wanting. There's multiple parts of me that want multiple things. I just have to recognize that there's a part being satisfied all the time. I don't have to. I would like to. I would like to recognize there's a part of myself being satisfied all the time. Whether that part is satisfied in following the desire to move and to be away from here and to be out and in and onto another chapter, a new chapter of life, or the part that's like enjoying the stuckness of this dragging on. Maybe it's something that likes the excruciation of the tension of things sort of being prolonged. And yeah, there's something there. It likes the torture aspect of just really dragging something out, making it last. Oh, there's this, yeah, it's like a desperation for a release that it's not allowed to have. It's like a denial of release. It likes that. It likes that big time. Oh, there's something big there. Denial of release. That's an interesting one. Anyway, I suppose I've rambled for long enough. Just a bunch of thoughts, feelings about this. Seeing how, of course, if this is built into the path, and it makes sense to me that it is, it feels right to face these sort of profound, intense, personal experiences of shame and guilt as an opportunity to actually really release those things. That means you also have the choice to buckle under them. And I don't say that as a judgment, it's not getting it wrong. That's a choice too. But it makes sense to me that is what happens with some people. And that's why there are these groups of people who are on the path and chronicling the journey, and then it seems like they just shut it all down and go back the other direction, go back deeply into religion, because that's where it feels safe, because that's where shame will take you. And when I say religion, I mean organized, dogmatic. Oh, excuse me. Because all religion is based on spirituality, there's truth in there. There's truth there at the foundation of it. It just got covered up and used in ways to control. If something is being used to control your behavior, that's a dead giveaway. That's a dead giveaway. That it's of the mind, it's of ego, and not spirit. Anyway. There's lots about this situation that myself likes. All of it is liked. There's no part of it that is disliked, ultimately. I know that. Everything that has ever happened, is happening, or will happen is liked. It can't happen otherwise. It can't happen if I don't want it to. So if it happens, it's because I want it. It's because I want it to. And the more deeply I accept that, the more I can tap into my pleasure in continuation in every single moment. And the more of myself that I'm accepting, the more of myself I'm inviting to the table to be seen, to be felt, to be heard, to be accepted. If I can find the parts of myself that are enjoying whatever is happening, truly actually enjoying whatever is happening in my present life experience, then I'm bringing them into the fold. I'm shining light on them truly in a loving way, not in a way that's trying to change them, in a way that's wanting to see them for what they are and to accept them for what they are, to celebrate them for what they are. And yeah, things change as a result of that, but that doesn't matter. The primary result, the one that matters to me, is that I feel good. I get to feel good. I get to line up with the parts that are feeling good. I find the parts of myself that are feeling good in any given moment, that are actually enjoying what is in detail. And I accept that they exist, that they're enjoying it, and I give full permission, full force, wholehearted approval and permission to their enjoyment. And I line up with it. And then I feel good. And in that way, it is possible to feel good from feeling bad. And that's my intention. That's my desire. That's what I aim to do. To radically accept and integrate all parts of myself. Integrating means celebrating. Not asking them to change. Not asking them to be different, certainly not shaming them. That's not integration. There's no integration from shame. There is no integration from guilt. That's not acceptance. No. Whatever I'm shaming, I'm going to choose to celebrate instead. Yeah. That's it. That's it. What an opportunity for this. Grateful that I have given myself this opportunity. Thank you. To experience tension, bondage, humiliation, or otherwise rejection, denial of release, and to recognize all of that is stuff that feels really, really good to me. All of that is stuff that's wanted. Everything about everything that is wanted by me. And I can just celebrate the parts of myself wanting this. That's pretty awesome. I'm going to just sit in that. Have a beautiful day.